Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Another late night session, alright? So I just finished watching Hollywood Shuffle, which I am ashamed to admit this is my first time seeing it. And I have been a Robert Townsend fan since I was little, since Parenthood. I used to love that show, still love that show, still watch that show. Of course, anybody black know about the 5 Heartbeats, all right? He also directed or produced one of the 2, Holiday Heart. He's had his hand on many projects that he starred in and or slash written, directed, produced for, all right? So in this movie, Hollywood Shuffle, we have a star-studded cast. Now, at the time, I'm not sure if a lot of these people were so much big back then. Like Paul Mooney was in it. You got I almost said David Allen Greer because they're all kind of in that together. Damon Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans, which co-wrote Hollywood Shuffle, Helen Martin, who played Pearl on 227, John Witherspoon, Anne Marie Johnson, and if you're not familiar with that name, that's the tall, thin, light-skinned lady. She played in the Heat of the Night series. She played in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. She's played in plenty of films. Like, you're black, you grew up watching stuff in the 80s, 90s, you have definitely seen her in something. And also, one of the characters in this movie, he was looking familiar, and I'm like, where have I seen this guy at before? And it just dawned on me that he played in Players Club, Myron, the guy that was stalking Diamond. He was always like getting dances from her, and then he showed up at her house talking about some I make sure you get home every night, dude with the glasses. He played in here, but he wasn't a square or like awkward like he was in Players Club. He was actually like really funny and stuff. I can dig the versatility in the acting, right? So Robert Townsend plays this guy who's an aspiring actor in California, right? He works at this hot dog place called Winky Dinky Dog. Okay, and he spends his days auditioning and practicing for like movie roles. So this one movie role he's really shooting for that he hopes going to just thrust him into stardom is a very like stereotypical blaxploitation role, really bad grammar. Like one of the if you see on my thumbnail, one of the sayings that the character was supposed to say is, I ain't got no weapon, just really outlandish things, right? So throughout the movie, he starts to he starts to battle with, do I want to be an actor so bad that I'm willing to do stereotypical roles that show black people in a negative light, right? And this was, like I said, 87, so you're still coming off the cusp of 70s exploitation films. I will get into that later. Even though they were labeled exploitation films, not all of them were stereotypical, but that's a whole nother video. So one thing he does in this movie also is he does a lot of daydreaming, right? Like he daydreams while he's going through this audition phase. He's daydreaming about movies, things that he feels like he can play and want to play. Like he imagined this slave movie. And I will say this, even though this movie is a comedy, it's one of those things where it's comedy but it has a message. And there's a movie that I really like called Dancing in September. I love it. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's also an independent film. It came on HBO in 2000 with Isaiah Washington and that lady, I forgot her name, but you've seen her on stuff. Anyway, and in that movie, it was the same thing as far as like a movie about a movie or a TV show in that case. And I'm paraphrasing, but her character says something like, while they're laughing and their mouth is open, slip the knowledge in there or something like that. That's my feelings about Hollywood Shuffle. It was a comedy, but there are so many messages about it, like how black people are portrayed in movies most of the time. Now, with this movie coming out in the late 90s, one would ask me, okay, hey, would you still consider this movie relevant as far as the message? I would say yes, but not as much as it was probably back then, because we have so many more options now. You know, in 87, it was movie theater, TV shows. There was no streaming. So it was you in a theater or you watching a show. There was no, I can't say there wasn't any internet, but it definitely wasn't like how it is now. And people weren't watching shows on their laptops. So it was a little more limited. And so they could only show so much, and what they chose to show a lot of times may have not been positive images, right? So at the end, he basically goes with his intuition, and he's like, I can't do this, you know, I can't play this role because of what it represents, right? So this came out a few years before Living Color, and Living Color was like that as well. Like, it was a comedy, but you had messages thrown in there. I wouldn't say with every single sketch. Sometimes it was just straight for laughs, but they did have comedy thrown in there. And I do feel like Keenen Ivory Wayans was probably the mind behind that on his show in Living Color, because, you know, the Wayans brothers, or the Wayans family, they're known for doing spoofs, right? And they're known for, in the spoofs, having messages, underlying messages in the spoofs, right? They even made a joke about having messages in the spoofs in Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, because he would pop up message and all that stuff. So I really do miss that kind of filming. I think now it's, and I hate to use the term woke because I feel like it's been weaponized so bad, but I'm using it because you're going to know what I'm talking about versus me trying to explain a whole bunch of crap. I'm just going to say woke. With us being in the woke era right now, I feel like you get beat over the head with a message versus it just being crept in there. It's just blatant in your face. It's all the time. It's, you know, it's overdone, I feel like, in my opinion. I guess everyone can receive messages in different ways. Some people soak up information differently. I love comedy, and I love a smart comedy. That's what I consider a smart comedy, where you can put social issues in there, but make it comfortable enough where you're funny, but you're like, you know what? I totally get it. You know what I mean? And that was pretty much, I feel, the main thing of this film was, do you want stardom? Do you want fame? Do you want money? How important is that to you? Are you willing to, as the term goes, sell out for it? Right? So I dig Robert Townsend, and while I was watching the movie, it reminded me of his show Parenthood. In the show Parenthood, his character, which is named after him, Robert, he would always have like these daydream imagination scenarios in his head, and that, you know, like that was a part of the show. So maybe I'm not sure if he took that from his film Hollywood Shuffle and put it in Parenthood, or I don't know if maybe it was a subconscious thing and he just did it, maybe didn't plan on it correlating with Hollywood Shuffle. But I do like that, you know what I mean? So shout out to Robert Townsend, man. I actually saw him on social media not too earlier. He was out there with the Strikers. And about the Strikers, they're supposed to be coming to an agreement. I really hope so, because there's shows that I want to see. I'm waiting on Bel Air. Bel Air was supposed to come back on next year, like January, February, March. So it's like, come on, y'all. Pay these people what they deserve. Writers are the whole entire reason why you even have fandoms. Somebody had to write that. Somebody had to imagine that, get on their laptop, iPad, whatever, desktop, and sit there for hours and hours a day and type that stuff out. Please pay these people what they are due. Pay these actors who memorize these lines and spend hours and hours on set. Everybody works so hard to keep the masses entertained. Let's please pay these people well. Y'all got billions and billions of dollars. You could spare a few grand to the people that are keeping money coming in your pocket. All right, so whew, fingers crossed on this strike. I really hope it ends soon. And shout out again to all the people that are participating in that writers